All right, welcome back, everybody. It's 10 past 1, and we're going to spend this afternoon on several different bills. Primarily, we really wanted to start off with what we're calling for now is H391. As I said before lunch, my expectation is that we will do a committee bill that will act as an amendment to S100. It'll probably be additive or do a presentation to the Appropriations Committee on it because of the money that's here. But I wanted to catch up. Welcome, Sandrine. Good to see you. We are here and Sandrine's with CVOEO. And I had, so what we've heard so far about the amendment about eviction diversion, and then there's a rental arrearage fund, and then full representation pilot into counties is we've heard from Angela Zukowski and Rachel Seelig and Jean Murray and Sandrine. They're in the room with us today. And I wanted to hear, and I shared this information. I had a conversation with Sandrine last week about, because one of the questions that we had even before last week was, where would this get housed? Where would the rent stabilization program at the very least get housed? And I reached out to Sandrine to talk about it in general and then shared the material that was being put together by the two VLAs. And so I wanted to get Sandrine's thoughts on that proposal and the need and what CVOEO does in this particular part of their one of the many programs that CVOEO does to help with, in this case, poverty mitigation, eviction diversion. So, Sandrine, I think we're going to go around the circle quickly just to introduce ourselves to you. I'm Representative Tom Stevens from Waterbury.
Claudia Lamont, Morristown, Illinois, Western Region, Cartersville.
Hello, Emily Krasnow, South Burlington.
Dennis LeBounty, Linden, Newark, Sutton, Sheffield, Wheelock.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Burrows, and I represent Heartland, West Windsor, and Windsor.
Good afternoon. I'm Larry Labor. I represent Essex and Orleans District 1.
I'm Mary Howard, and I represent Rutland District 6.
And I'm Robin Chestnut Tangerman. I represent the Rutland Bennington District.
So welcome. The microphone is yours, Sandrine.
Thank you so much for inviting me to before this committee today to discuss H391 and proposed amendment to S100. I have just for and foremost, I have submitted a testimony that I have corrected after consultations with our partners, Vermont Legal Aid and the Vermont State Housing Authority. So it would be a little bit of changes in the way I would be testifying, but not really in this sense, but just some portion of it would be somewhat altered. Thank you for having me. My name is Sandrine Kiwe. I am the director of the Housing Advocacy Program at the Champaign Valley Office of Economic Opportunity. CVO in abbreviation CVOEO. So one of the state 5 community action agencies that address fundamental issues of economic, social, environmental, and racial justice, and work with people to achieve economic independence. Within CVOEO, we have our statewide housing advocacy programs that are direct, and we promote inclusive and affordable housing for all. But today, my testimony of today is to support the fundamentals of rental financial assistance as an effective homelessness prevention and housing rotation tool. We have reviewed the draft proposed amendment by VSH and VLA, and our review is positive. We definitely do support the rental areas fund and legal assistance language as proposed, as long, since our long and strong relationship and common goal with VSH and VLA is to provide relief to many Vermonters in need of assistance. And this asks for our support into making sure that this proposition is considered and funding allocated in a timely manner. However, we would like to welcome the opportunity to host an Office of Rental Housing Stabilization Services, as we strongly believe that this type of program will better be housed within the CVOEL Housing Advocacy Program. Indeed, CVOEL and its housing advocacy programs expertise, proven successful and comprehensive housing support programs and relationships with vulnerable communities is well known and respected. The housing advocacy programs are the only statewide housing advocacy resource and support program in Vermont, operating 2 hotlines serving more than 1,700 tenants and mobile home residents with tenancy issues a year, educating more than 400 renters and mobile home residents about their rights and responsibilities, and attending schemes to maintain healthy and safe housing. We also provide consultation, information, referrals, education, advocacy, and technical assistance for people and organizations about fair housing law through our fair housing projects. In addition, we have embedded language accessible housing education and financial services that will soon be provided directly to service recipients in the language they speak through our expanded Community Ambassadors program. I don't know if you do have my testimony in front of you, but there were a graphic actually illustrating all the existing structures, services, and systems in place to provide this crucial relief needed to not only tenants and mobile home residents, but also the possibility to address issues presented by landlords. So one thing that we talk about is the funding that will be allocated to the Office of Housing Stabilization Services. And in the proposition, the language was presented, we have done our calculation, and with a budget of 2.5 million, we have calculated that the administration for the not only supporting 2 full-time employees and all the direct project administration costs will come to $200,000. But we do believe that investment into our statewide rental housing support, educative, and advocacy program will not only decrease the cost in creating a new office, but will definitely decrease unnecessary barriers, promote direct connection to the most vulnerable, because this is what we do on a daily basis, and then make access to a fair and more inclusive services, therefore give the state a better return on its investment. This was my, very dry and to the point testimony at this point here, but I will definitely be more than happy to provide details or even longer explanation on question that you have.
Representative Chestnut Chandler.
Thank you, Sandrine, and it's nice to meet you remotely like this. So I'm just looking for some clarification. The statewide program that you operate now for mobile homes, or is it for renters more broadly?
Yes. So I should have given you more details about what the housing advocacy programs actually is composed of. So we have 4 current programs that we operate. We operate the Vermont Tenants Program with its hotline, and they provide education, consultation, information, and referral services. We have the mobile home program that actually, yes, provides services, community organizing, support services, technical assistance, education, outreach to mobile home residents. Our services are statewide, just to mention it. The third program that we run is the Fair Housing Project. This is more focused on educating and supporting organizations and legislatures and city officials into really learn about fair housing principles, rules and regulations. And we have our new home voucher, family voucher program that we just started last March. This would provide 250 temporary vouchers for 18 months to family with dependent children. These are the 4 programs that we are running right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
To run a statewide program, Sandrine, do you have folks in offices across the state, or is everything run right now remotely through Burlington?
Yes, everything is run through Burlington.
And that works okay for dealing with folks in Rutland, Bennington, Canaan?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
Yes, this centralized service and program and services have been running their services statewide, and it works very effectively because what we do, we meet the people where they at. We have staff members that do go, visit, let's say, or consult or connect with Vermonters through the state, meaning that we do provide mileage. We do actually do canvassing, team visiting of mobile home parks in particular. And we have done that last summer, and we have connected with over 800 mobile home residents through the state. We have gone through the most vulnerable mobile home parks in the state last summer. But yes, capacity, as you know, is an issue for most nonprofits, but we definitely do effective work with the system that we have implemented. I can say very well.
And what is the current staff for the advocacy program, for your housing advocacy program?
Right now we are at 11 employees. And one thing that I will say is that our connection with statewide or even regional or local services provider, housing providers, partners, group and associations is very strong. This is the way we have been able to operate in a very effective manner and providing information and referral services to our client connecting with us. We, work towards strengthening it every year. So not only us as an entity and the system in place, but also really counting on the relationships that we have created over through the years, and collaboration and partnership with our partners around the state.
Okay, other questions for Sandrine right at this minute?
Thank you so much.
Sandrine, we're going to be working on this. We're going to have a bit of a conversation now with the committee and with the folks who are in the room, and that's kind of going to be, we're approaching this a little bit late in the season, but this has been on our mind for all session long, in the face of what we're expecting to happen at the end of May and the end of June, with the diminishment of the programs that we've had in place now for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Are you experiencing, and as we begin this conversation, I'm not sure we need to spend too much time on the need for something like this, but from your perch up in Burlington and with a statewide look, can you tell me what the fears are moving forward over the next several months? I guess starting with what you've heard on the street, but also how will CVOEO be able to react in the short term, or what planning is going on in the short term?
Thank you for this question. As direct services providers with comprehensive program and services that really touch on the basics of what people need at this time, we know that when it comes to renters and mobile home residents, there is a real fear on not being able to sustain their housing, their rental housing with the end of the IRAP. That the support has been somewhat constant for a long period of time, and not only with the amount of people entering the programs and support services at this time, but also the length of time that it takes for housing to be built and access to this housing infrastructures, and the number of affordable housing around the state, and the economical situation that actually the rental amounts being charged by landlords is actually increasing instead of being stable or decreasing. All that access, all that fear, and that gap is taking a toll on, of course, our services. We have passed from getting 495 calls, and we call them emergency calls. That means that it has to do with eviction, it has to do with lack of heat, lack of water in 2022. So from July 1st, 2021 to June 1st, 2022 to 890 this year through our hotline. That will actually tell you how the feel of the housing crisis is taken by our Vermonters, by our vulnerable communities. When it comes to CVOEO services, we, with the small capacity that we have, what we are trying to focus on is really make the small tools system that we have the most effective as possible. That means looking at the way we do provide the information or the delivery of the information itself or the support itself. We have had added through COVID some support services that were needed. For example, for Vermont tenants, we usually, and it is in connection with this amendment, we do usually refer people to Vermont Legal Aid for legal assistance services and support. We, as a hotline, were getting calls that needed way more time that could be allocated to one consultation for one hotline specialist. So we added, for example, not for example, in essence, we did add one follow-up and navigation service position to actually be able to be referred those cases that needed more research and more of a hands-on referral to those services providers that needed. And this is the way we do look at it in a very systematic standpoint. I do believe that we have already existing services here that are very effective in doing what we want to actually accomplish. I think that it is really to look at how the investment made actually give the most impact to the community instead. Crisis is something that we have done well. We have done well through COVID. We have done very well post-COVID. But at this time, as we see, the crisis is not ending. The crisis is actually evolving to something totally different. Due to the pandemic, through the circumstances of the people actually navigating that system and that crisis. And then we need to look at who we be making very impactful but sustainable support services to the people in need. That's why we have really focused on providing retention services, and this is informed mediation. It's a little bit different than what the diversion program that Vermont Legal Aid and the Landlord Association is providing. It's more to have the tenants with housing and stability issues to come and then be provided with support services, with informed mediation with the landlord, or with connection to financial services, or even when it comes to the mobile home residents. At this time, we are providing technical assistance for the mobile home improvement program for repairs. But still, when they come to us to our hotline, it's not with only one issue they come with. Usually it's a very wide range of issues that needs the time to be assessed and then really focused on how to make it happen. But we do take into consideration the community perspective on how this will be possible. Because without actually having that piece of the puzzle, because you can throw money at people, try to think that, yes, that will be a relief for them. But we know, it's not even that I do think, but we do know that support services added to that financial piece is actually strengthening the possibility of sustaining housing. And this is with, education services being provided, skills attained financially, through knowledge of your rights and responsibilities as a tenant, the connection with landlords, try really to convince them. Not only to convince them, I think it's a community effort. This is our perspective is to come from the community standpoint that, with the involvement of all parties, we might be able actually to sustain a most robust relief initiative or program. So, and I think that I deviated from what you asked me. Please please, could you please repeat the question because I think that I went.
That's a far better answer than the question I had. So I wouldn't worry about it right now. It's in Burlington. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to ask you a Burlington specific question because again, you're a statewide organization, and I don't want to give the impression that that CVOEO is only about Burlington or the Northwest, because you also are the whole Champlain Valley all the way down to Addison. And so, but you mentioned about pre-COVID and post-COVID and just how, so much has changed, and yet, of course, the baseline is still the same, right? The system is still the same. And I just, but are you hearing, it was more about like, what's the stress level of the people who are approaching, the end of the VRAP program, and you addressed quite a bit of that. But just the idea of before COVID, we thought we had half as many people who were experiencing homelessness through the point in time count. And then we realized that once we had an opportunity to actually count them, we had twice as many, and that number has stayed stable. We've seen some fluctuation in evictions, but again, with the increase in rent and purchase prices of homes and further, I don't even think gentrification is the right word, but just because a lot of times these rents are going up without improvements in the living space. But Are you seeing the stress levels increase since 5 years ago or 4 years ago, where people are more aware of what's out there and what may happen, as opposed to, because I don't want to believe that we didn't deal with people who were experiencing homelessness or a threat of it prior to COVID. We certainly were. But it seems like it's just, the energy has just ramped up quite a bit over the last year and last 2 years, really. At least here at the legislature. I'm sure in your world, it's always been at a very high pitch. I just wondered if you could just share, like, are people still feeling more desperate than they were several years ago, I guess is the question. It's not a very good question, I'm sorry.
More desperate. Yeah, the definition is, well, someone in crisis is desperate. So more, I don't know more that what I had to, put it in that context. I'm trying really to see more desperate. The number of people that have been in need of assistance, even though we did provide support before COVID, did get the assistance that was provided to them. As you see by the number of actually requests, right, application, and the number of people that we did see increase substantially during COVID and post-COVID. It's there's several factors that I can speak of here. I do think that it's not really what we do provide, it's the how we provide it. And this is what this, I think, hope that what the discussion is on the floor at this time, without leaving aside the fact that people need help now. So the level of need is real. The number of people needing that need is real. I don't think that is anything that the legislature or the state of Vermont or services providers are not doing, because the money was there and the money was provided. We have seen a lot of people migrating to Vermont as well. But we know that it does not go along with the affordability of the home. We still have a lot of money being invested into building housing, but it takes time to build that housing. So I think we are in the perfect storm here after the storm. So I don't know if you call it double storm, but at this time here, we have invested so much money into trying really mending the homeless and instability of housing, experienced by our community members. But we don't have the time or the resources to really put that same amount of money towards the crisis that is actually will be a little bit longer than expected, to see the impact of whatever the investment into housing stocks and then housing services or support services, or even financial housing initiative have provided. I think it's too early, because we are still in the midst of assessing the impact of this investment. COVID is 2 years ago. We still have COVID. It's just like not as publicized as a few years ago. But I do think that the way I look at it is that the investment that was made is the effect of the investment made is still to be seen. It's still to be felt. But not to say that it was not a good investment, let's say this. So the question that you have for me, it's crisis is crisis. I've been working in this field for 12 years. I have seen it all, pretty much, because COVID was definitely the summum of most of the work that I've done in this field since I started. But when it comes to the level of support and the temperature of need and desperation that people have right now, I think it's the impact of the same situation that was lived before, during, and now post-COVID. That's basically it. They are desperate, yes. They need help, yes. Do we have to provide them with whatever we might be able to? Yes. But we have to do it in a way that we do add a layer of support that might be a good impact with the prior investment with housing stocks and housing repair. Repairs investment that you have done not only for the mobile home parks, but through the other housing programs for landlord to take effect. I think it's too early, but the desperation is there. We need crisis management. We need crisis support at this time. Yes.
Thank you.
I have another clarification question for you, which is, I hope, a lot more yes or no than the last question was.
Mhm.
And it's, so the bill, as we're looking at it, is 3 different programs.
Mhm.
First one being the rental housing stabilization services, and that's 2 positions, guiding people. And that one is looking for a home. And the second one is the pilot program for legal representation, and that would be legal aid.
Mhm.
And then the third one is the rental arrears, and that's the one with the 2.5 million funding. And as written, it's the Vermont State Housing Authority
Yes.
to do the guidance and administration of it.
Yes.
In your testimony, you, I believe, are advocating for operating both the first and the third programs. Is that correct?
Yes. Our initial proposition was such that we do provide we do host the Office of Housing Stability Services and actually operate the rental areas program as well. But after consultation with Vermont Legal Aid and the Vermont State Housing Authority, and the timely need that people have with the end of VRAP, and certain funding system already in place, we do support that those 2 amendments, the language that was proposed for these 2 programs. We are not in competition. We are very strong, very strong partners into this. VRAP has done in a larger scale that type of assistance, with us being able to provide the support services. Is for timely considerations, we would be more than happy to provide that as well, as listed or as stipulated into the language. And not to say that further consideration in the future for us being able to actually, provide this comprehensive service, being considered. Would be the first one to come and advocate for that. But for the time being, because of the timely need that our renters have right now, I do believe that we should support our partners into this. But we do advocate for the Office of Housing Stabilization Services to be hosted at CVOEA.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
And can I build on that and say that you would, in order to run that, because the way it was described, again, without CVOEO as a partner in the conversation, but the way that Legal Aid described it yesterday was that it would provide the soft handoff was the key thing, that, to say, not just here's the number like 211 might say, but just to say, like, that the folks who are running this program would take it another step and be able to really work with the people who are calling. Is that I don't call CVOEO, so I don't know what your services are like. I'm assuming it's more than just handing out a phone number, but that fits into your world pretty smoothly. Yes.
So I think I said so many things when you asked a question about the way we do the work that we do, and in the context of that crisis environment that we are living in right now. So yes, when people call our hotline, we have the mobile home hotline, we have the Vermont Tenants for Renters tenants, and we have definitely landlords calling as well. We do provide information and referrals. We do provide consultations, but we have a follow-up services component to it. That is the retention service, and that is the support service for both programs. Meaning that the referral being made, if it needs to have direct connection, we already do that in collaboration with the tenants, and depending on what the issues they have, are. So to very, simply, yes, we already do that.
And Representative LaBounty?
Thank you. In your testimony that you sent in, you said that the budget is 2.5 million. And then it says has been calculated as follow. You got $200,000 for administrative cost. And then the rental arrears fund is 1.8 million. That comes up to 2 million. Where's the other 500,000?
Yes. So I did submit, and very late in the day, and I apologize, a corrected testimony. Yes, that was definitely a mistake. So the calculus was as follows. So the administration of the office with 2 full-time employees, all the operation cost, administrative cost came to $200,000. And instead of 1.8, it's 2.3 million. And the calculus when it comes to the number of tenants or renters and mobile home residents being helped based on the 1,500 a month of rental amount assistance will come to 511 people.
Yes, you're right.
So with that, again, CVOEO would still need 2 people to run the program, additional people from what you already have, in order to run the stabilization program without the 2.5 rental arrearage program, right? So we still need, if we were to go in this direction, we would still need to make sure that you had the capacity to do this, and the estimated capacity is for 2 full-time, or it's for $200,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. No, thank you. That's thank you for clarifying that.
And I apologize that I was very late into getting that in.
We were very late last night. This is the time of year to be as tired as we all are. So, any further questions for Sandrine at this time? All right, so for us, committee, and for folks who are here, where we are now then is are we still okay with moving forward with considering this and investing the hours into making this get to a point where we can feel that we've crafted something that,
Yes.
so then what I've heard this morning and yesterday and today, so we need to be able to, first of all, take a look at the sections that, for the way that I would work on this right now is that I would take away the section on the rental housing, the Office of Rental Housing Stability just for a minute and concentrate on the differences. The only differences of opinion here are the two sections that were mentioned earlier. And perhaps there will be some emails that may clarify that, but it's when we work on this, we'll have to make a call if we don't get an agreement with, if the interested parties don't have an agreement, then we need to discuss through about how we would resolve those in a proposal. The representation program, I mean, we're going to review all the language, of course, next week. Yes, Sandrine?
I'm sorry, Representative Stephen. I want to make sure that you understand that we are not opposing the rental areas being funded through VSHA. We are not in competition for that. It is not even in competition for us. We support whatever language was proposed when it comes to the rental areas and the legal assistance piece. What we are really interested in and advocating for here today is the Office of Housing Stability Services being hosted at CVOAO.
Yes, thank you. That's what we're going to work with.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so we would need to we need to look at the language in that section to see we clearly don't need all that language if we're just trying to provide CVOEO with funding for two positions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could have a structure of what an Office of Rental Stabilization could be called. I don't know if it would be called that at CVOEO or as a separate program, but that's something we'll work out over the weekend and early next week, I think.
Okay.
Does that sound right to everybody who's here? Committee first, I guess, and and folks, did you hear anything in the corner over there that you wanted to comment on?
I think this is Rachel Steele from Legal Aid. I think this all makes great sense, and we're happy to keep working with you all to move these three pieces forward.
Okay, Jean?
I just want to agree with Sandrine. I think for the Office of Rental Housing Stabilization Services, CVOEO is a great place to have it. They have a lot of expertise and they do warm handoffs, and they have people there who will make sure that the folks that need it are going to get signed up for the programs that they need to get signed up for. So I'm very supportive of them having that.
Angela?
For the record, Angela Zagowski from Vermont Landlords Association. I would also agree, CVOEO seems like the logical place for the office. We need a better name for this. Office of Rental Housing Stabilization Services to live. That is a mouthful. They already work with a lot of the partners and have sort of the infrastructure. I think makes perfect sense.
And you have a working relationship with them over the years. We have committee in the past whatever weeks we've been here. I know I've recommended it a couple of different times about the landlord tenants handbook, which we now have hard copies of. I asked Ron to print out because for some reason $15 a piece, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're a lot.
We'll take them out and then distribute them. Because I'm sure that no one's read the 150 pages or more online. Sure. But it's really something that I don't remember to share it with my people except for once every 3 or 4 years, but it is I'm not sure how much different it would have made this year with the work that we've done so far, but it is an incredible resource that we will refund so that stuff that's happened in the last 3 years since the last time it's been updated, but everybody should have a copy of this. And I only thought, but go ahead.
Just to mention that this is the old version. We have been updating the version with not only the content, but to make it so it is definitely more reader friendly. Reader friendly. The other thing is that we have also interpreted that we are in the process of interpreting it into 8 languages. And that will be available to you as well, by request. But we have been doing a lot of work when it comes to make it inclusive, to make it more accessible to Vermonters from different backgrounds. So.
And did I dream this, or is there a graphic novel version of this?
Yes. Yes, there is the animated version that we still have here. Yes.
That's good. No, because I didn't think of this in terms of the rental registry, but I thought for the after just last week I was like, for the $35 we could send them at least the electronic copy so that everybody who registers can have. I mean, the thing since this has been developed is like, can we just put this in everybody's apartment everywhere so that at least everybody has, they don't have to read it. I don't read the Gideon Bible when I go to a hotel room, but I know it's there. No, Dennis, I don't read the Gideon Bible when I go to a hotel room.
I don't think you're safe.
I'm not. That's been clear for 61 and a half years.
We do also have the animated version in 8 different languages as well.
That's great.
Yeah. And then I want to thank the Landlord Association and Vermont Legal Aid on this. We have been working very closely in making it what it is. So I want to say, they've been very partners into this. It's not only CVOA doing this, so
yeah,
make sure that is known.
No, it was a partnership that was many years ago with one of your predecessors at the mobile home or in the division. So just it's a great resource. And just flipping through it this morning, I realized, when we talk about when we've talked about what all these documents are that we're talking about, they're all right in here. So when we need to, it's not beach reading, but, it's just something that we'll be prepared for. Well, yes. Okay.
And then not to add even more, but it's definitely information that you need to have. We also have interpreted videos that will be accessible to Vermonters, to tenants and renters and all Vermonters interested into knowing what their rights and responsibilities are. So we are in the process of producing those videos, and it will be accessible online for sure.
Great. Well, I think it's it's just when people ask like, how do I find this stuff out? It's really brutal to have to say, go online and look at our statutes, because this makes them decipherable. So thank you. So thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Angela and Jean. Just we're gonna move on to another subject in a couple of minutes, but this has been very helpful. I think, again, if there's any suggestions you can make, whether it's a new name for an office or whether it's anything related to, or a new name for rental rearage fund or rental rescue or whatever. I mean, those things are not, they're smaller, but we will be working on this as a talk through starting next week. And then Sandrine will review, the committee will review the language that's there for this Office of Rental Stability. And like I said, I don't think we need as many words. We might be able to provide the structure of what we're looking for and then allow you to develop the rules just like we've done for the arrearage program. And but I think we've invited you in next week for the conversations next week to be present in the room and as we work through this. Thank you, everybody.
Can I ask what the 8 languages are?
You may.
Quick test. What are the 8 languages?
We have French, Somali, Mai, Spanish, Vietnamese, Bosnian, did I do Spanish? Yes, Swahili, what, well, I don't have it on here, but 8 in total.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, English makes 7, right?
Yes, yeah, don't forget English, yes.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll be on this again, if we have it scheduled for tomorrow or not, but we'll be tomorrow. That'll be my beach reading tomorrow. All right, thanks, everybody. Let's take 5.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandrine.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.